Hello and good morning, everyone. Hello and good morning today. What a day we're going to have today. So good morning to everyone who made an effort to join me and James today at this lovely Sunday morning again. And what we have for you today is something different. We've planned for Wojtek Kolodziejczak to come and join us today, but my heart and James' heart is going out to Wojtek. I had a chat with him this morning, and he's okay. Let me stress that Wojtek's absolutely fine. But he had an accident on a scooter, and Wojtek, I know how challenging it is to live on an island when there is no hospital, and you've got to one. So, man, I've just been so relieved to hear that you've been looked after very well, and we can't wait to hear from you when you're back and fully restored. And to all of our audience, we hope that this will be very soon. So, Wojtek, we love for you to come and join us as soon as you can. For everyone who's been expecting Wojtek today, rest assured, he's absolutely fine. He's still smiling. He's still smiling. He got a few bruises, but other than that, he's just being looked after. And I'll keep it. That's it. I'll zip it up, and I'll let Wojtek talk about his experience of that situation on, on as soon as he come and join us. James, welcome. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Greg. Good morning. Yeah, Wojtek, get well soon. Yeah, I'm all good. I'm very good. I had to get up at 3:36 this morning to get to my destination. So I'm in Birmingham today. I'm on something called a graduate day, so Property Investors Network graduate day, pin host tomorrow. And that started 15 minutes ago, but hey, the show must go on. So I've managed to find a very, very quiet little conference room where we can have our show. So yeah, I'm a bit tired, but ready to go.
Well, absolutely. I know. Wow, waking up that early, it's not for everyone. It is definitely not for everyone. I went to bed late last night, and I waked up 6 a.m. today, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go for one more minute, and that 1 minute has turned into 1 hour. But I needed that sleep. I did. My son had an accident 2 days ago, but he's okay. He's okay on the scooter again. There's a theme out there,
Yeah.
uh, but it's a good lesson for him as well. I think he disrespected the speed, and we are yet to follow up from it when he feels less achy. If you had in your closest family, some ridiculous accidents, share them in the comments. We'd love to see. Well, we don't actually. Uh, Moving
But
on.
Greg, I tell you what I did get, which is quite rare this time of year, is I had a sunrise at 4:20 and I saw it. So
Oh
I
man,
genuinely saw the sunrise at 4:20. And of course, with a long drive in, it gives you a chance to just let yourself have a good think about things. And that's
absolutely.
when I sort of had a think about what we could talk about today. And I think that, when we talk about opportunities and the strategies that we're using, when we actually do find a deal and we're speaking to vendors and then we need to go and get our finances, that's when I thought, you know what, Greg, perhaps we should talk about, what happens when we actually do find a deal. We make an offer. What happens with the finances? So I thought we might have a quick discussion about that because you've got something which is a really, really good deal, but the bridges have just pulled the rug a little bit. It hasn't
Hmm.
upset you, but just because I'm not quite sure all the ins and outs, give us an idea and tell the audience what can happen. What is some of the challenges you get with the financing side?
Well, yeah, sure. Actually, James. So, as you know, but not everyone might have, is we've just completed on the project recently. It was conversion of a three-bedroom bungalow to a six-bedroom co-living HMO. An amazing project. Absolutely great. And we had to go over, a few hoops and just to get it over the line. And it's just like the system is not set for you to make it easier. It's actually more difficult. and just I'm telling you, the last months of our bridge, and we are very stressful, and we are there. All to our knowledge, we had everything that we needed to complete, and there is a few documents which the lender has requested, and I'm like, okay, so I'll get this in place. I put that, and as you know, if you're expecting other companies to do something for you, that takes time. So we had to default on our bridge for a month, which was very, very expensive. We paid £7,500 for that extra month, and yeah, that was ouch on our profits, but it was still good. It was still profit. It was still very good, profitable. Return on the investment. Despite them, that's how you should make them, to make sure that you've got loads of profits, so you can share with your investors at the end. And well, there's some.
What was the forms? What was the forms out of interest, Greg, that was missing?
So it was a declaration of furniture that they are fireproof. It was a fire risk assessment, and there was one more that we had to do. But the problem is that they don't tell you what you've got to supply. So we there's about 15 documents. We need to make a list of them. There's about 15 documents, when you convert a property into a HMO co-living, that you've got to have in order. And trust me when I say we had them in order, by heart. And they just come. Oh yeah, the fire risk assessment is I've done it because, as you know, I've got two businesses. I've got my electrical business, and I have my property development business, and I've done my own fire risk assessment. But the lender turned back on us and say like, "Oh, we don't like that because the borrower is on the fire risk assessment and he's done it. You can't do that." And I'm like, "Well, yes, it's a completely separate legal entity." And I'm signing this, although I'm a director of both businesses. It's a completely separate legal entity. So I am confirming with all of my knowledge, with my expertise, that that all of the risk has already been assessed, and we've put the prevention in place. And all the smoke alarms, everything has been done to a satisfactory level. And trust me, James, when I say that was very stressful just at the last month, because we've done some great learning for this on this project, and we arranged for another fire risk assessor to go into that property and audit. And trust me, what experience that was! It was just. You know who you are, person out there, and you're not a very nice person, because he was talking. Can I say that? Bollocks.
Well, you said it.
There was a ball outside. He went outside. The ball. The kids throw the ball over a fence, and he's like, "Oh, that's a risk. I've got to note that down." And he's like, it wasn't me. It was my partner, Maggie. She was there, and she's like, "The ball, but kids must have thrown it over the fence." He's like, "Really? No, no, no. It's there. You should be checking, all the exit ways." And it's like, "Really? You take the ball, throw it over the fence. What ball?"
Who paid for that? Was that the lenders?
I paid for that. I paid for that nonsense.
You're the client.
I was the customer, and he treated me that way.
Wow, dear. Okay, so you didn't feel like the Bridger and the new product, obviously different companies. Maybe that's some good advice there, where we maybe get something that's the same lender that's got the product and the bridge. That's some good advice there.
Absolutely.
So did it feel like the Bridger was trying to get you to jump through hoops, or do you think it was actually, just this new strict stuff?
Thanks. That's exactly what I said. I went to my bridge and to my finance broker, which, by the way, guys, you're absolutely amazing. And I've told them, is this? And I've just sent an email, because I'm like, enough is enough, guys. I've provided every legal document you requested, and despite the fact that you've not told us what you want us to provide, and we are now at the end of, we are moving the completion date now. Where that's where we are. We need this, and I'm like, is this? Are you especially designing that way? So you are needing to make us go into default or extend the bridge. because you're not giving us the time to produce the documents, and you're not giving us the list of what you're expecting. And I've just really wrote, an honest email, and we had to pay that money for an extension. And listen, and they just authorized all of the documents when I called them out, because I think that's exactly what it was. They just wanted to get a little bit more money, because I was going to finish on time, but the product was initially for 8 months at 0.89% a month.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was. But the last, so it was 8 months, and the next 4 months, if I needed to, it was 2.13.
Oh,
Yeah,
hello.
and it was very tempting for them to get that, to get that extra 7.5 grand, and they did. But I'm like, I don't like this. This is not how the business is supposed to be done. Give me a time to produce the documents, and I would, and we did eventually. But you talk about finance, so this is it, done and dusted. It's finished now. Like, we are back again. Want to do it all over again.
So
I know, crazy.
You found a new bungalow. Okay, so tell us about that,
James. We found an amazing deal, and trust me when I say is we got an initial discount. We're buying below the market value, and so that they were asking for 445,000, and we agreed 375. So it's a nice chunky discount on this property, and I'll tell you.
Hang on, you're not getting away with that. How on earth did you manage to get a win-win with that kind of discount? We're going to need to know a little bit more, Greg. What's that, 65,000?
Yep. So, James, it was the property needed some work. So obviously, as a savvy investors, you're not buying nice properties. You're buying the properties with a problem. That's for the first, because you're, as an investor, you need to make money when you buy property. So on this occasion, we chose very well, and there is some structural, issues with the property, which I do like, because you go and you buy, you buying a problem, you want to solve the problem, and you want to be paid for that. That's all it is. We are problem solvers. You said that, James, once. We are problem solvers. So we buy this house, and we want to fix the problem of the structural, as well as roof needs to be changed. So please, don't take this. There's a lot of work. A lot of work needs to be done. It will take 12 months. But what we are getting in return is we are getting 7 bedrooms, and
Nice.
this will be a 7-bedroom house. We are using PD to go 6 bedrooms, and further on we're just gonna convert to a sui generis, which is if you're going above 6 bedrooms, that's changing your class to a different class use. It will be a sui generis.
And you can put that application in whenever you want. You can put dual applications in, so you can do your PD and apply for the 7 at the same time. You don't have to wait for one to finish and one to start. So that's a good tip for everybody.
No, you do not. You do not. In fact, I checked this with some of my friends, and that's a good point, James, to mention here. If you're buying a house and you're thinking about this, different exits, your PD, which is almost guaranteed, as long, and this is a good one, as long as you're going to download all of your local authority licensing and planning, requirements, and you go through them, because we hear and see very often someone has done an amazing project, and they've been awarded for this, but it happens that they haven't actually followed that all of the licensing requirements, and now there is a one toilet short, for example. That's what happens to one of my friends, and he's done an amazing project, absolutely amazing. And this knowledge is not a new knowledge. It's a common knowledge for about 10 years now, where the requirements is the minimum requirements is two bathrooms and a spare toilet if you have 6 people HMO. And this is it. Knowing what you do and making sure you've got all of the requirements satisfied. It's a PD. You've got the permitted development to go and crack on. 56 days and you get a stamp. You can do it. But you can do it if you understand what you've got to do.
Yeah.
On that note, this is what we're going to do. So phase 1, 6-bedroom, then we're going to turn it into a 7. It's a great project, but again, financing it. We've got an investor with us on this journey, but this is not financing all of the purchase of the product. So we still have to we're still using a bridge on this. And God, it's not easy to work with these people, but let me give it to you. It's the project that we completed recently on the 6-bedroom co-living HMO. We did a 6-bathroom on that project. We want to make sure that there's a good quality for everyone to live in our properties. And James, on this one, the one we complete, the GDV complete now, the property is valued at 560,000.
Right. That's a 6-bed.
That's a 6-bed, yes. And we are buying this next one, which is going to be a 7-bed.
So it's more. It's going to be more.
Yes, I know. Overall, it's a bigger property with a bigger land. It's bigger and better. So we had a lender valuer coming to value the property, and they valued the property at 550. And I'm like, what? I was very puzzled because what we did is 560, and he had that information, and now we are getting the bigger property. We're going to do more, and we are and essentially the valuations should be in a 625, 650 areas, and at least, and he valued us at 550, and I'm like, So what that means in a simple language for us, it means that we are now short on a day one 25 grand. So challenges. And I'm like, okay, we've had everything planned out, so we are now 25 grand short on buying. And I'm thinking like, okay, so last year I paid overall for the money I borrowed 47 grand. Yep. And I'm thinking, this is a hefty money. I'm sure there's people out there who would like to get £47,000 for doing absolutely nothing. James, would you like to get? Actually, give us a thumbs up. Anyone who's listening, would you like to get £50,000 for doing nothing in a 12 months?
Yeah,
that's thumbs up. Give us a like, guys, if you're watching this. If you would like to get 50k for absolutely nothing. And that's it. I would love to.
Greg, let me ask a question. So this bridger, were they lending you the difference between your private investor funds and the purchase price, plus the redevelopment costs as well? Are they actually lending you the money to do the work?
Yes. Yes, they do.
And the fact that you've done it before, and you've got you're in the industry, you've got a product that you've done, you can show them that, and they're lending you the money to do the work. You think that they could get that valuation right. What they've really done is they've de-risked it a little bit for themselves by you having to go and get a bit more skin in the game. So that must have, I'll tell you what, maybe that's a positive, Greg, because I was thinking about this just for a second. I was thinking, is that a sign, I would say, from the universe? Is that a bit of wisdom, intuition that's just going to make you think, well, hang on a minute, you've got this £50,000 of interest here. You got the bridger has given you something to think about. I would be tempted to go back to the vendor to have a conversation about, hey, it's going great. Thanks for the deal. Everything's going well. I just wanted to, ask you, because I think she's slightly older than you, so there's this assumption she's got more wisdom. What you could say to her is, so I'd love to be in your position where I'm selling property. and then doing whatever I want to do, because obviously having money, having abundance is all about having the choice to do what you want to do. So
Yes.
what are you going to do next? What are you doing with the money?
So
Are you going to take the
you're right.
briefcase and
So I could go back to vendor and offer her, additional 20, 30,000 pounds.
Yep.
For we could extend. So this is called, like, when you buy in property, and is delay completion. So you purchase it, you exchange the contract, you do everything. There is a commitment of me buying this property, but delay completion means that you can essentially go into the property, do what you need to do, because the completion is being delayed, and essentially the person who's selling the house is becoming my investor. And yeah, you're right. I just wanted to make sure I'll explain how this how this works for anyone who's not as experienced. James, that's probably right. But actually, I've challenged my thinking even more, and
oh,
so yeah. So we need about we need about 500,000 to convert this completely with development finance. And I'm thinking, like, if I can give someone 50K, maybe there's a way that we can move this up and down, depending of what's the right person requires. And this is not for everyone. You need to qualify to be an investor, but maybe we can offer someone 50 or more money and buy this for cash completely.
how about I love this one. I thought about this one the other day. So effectively, what you're saying is you can give a 10% return. So it's a loan agreement for a year and a day, 10%, 500,000 day one, and then 550 paid at the end. Is that the sort of
Yes,
thing you're
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of? Well, how
Well,
about
this is
this? How about this? What
what.
about what about? I mean, that's good enough. 10% is really good. That's like double what you're going to get in the bank at the minute. But how about a profit share of some of the future? So you pay the money back, the 500,000 plus the interest, and then as a little cherry on the cake, you could perhaps have a percentage of the income from that property for maybe a year. So not only does the investor get their money back and the interest, they also get a little tickle for the next 12 months. That might be a good incentive for them to leave the money with you, go again, and then get another little tickle at the end of that as well. So I think there's lots of, we have to think differently, because when we think differently, we create a different frequency. We're thinking like millionaires think, billionaires think, people
Yes.
that have done many of these deals, that have many creative financing ideas. If we were around those kind of people thinking like they do, we would have different solutions, because remember, we're only drawing on what we know. We don't know what we don't know. So I would say, here's a top tip: get yourself networking, talking about these challenges that you've got. Get yourself into networking groups that you probably wouldn't have gone to before, because you've got to try and find different people with different frequencies, and then ask that question.
Well, and James, as you said, is but also finding people with the different frequencies is right, but also challenge your thinking, your mind. So
Yes.
that's what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, we've got our bag of money, and we've got some from the investors, and we need to bridge the gap. And that's
Yep.
exactly what we are doing. And
That's it.
now, after the valuation of what we want to do came lower, and actually that's a trend now. The banks and the valuers, what they're doing is they down value every project, because I speak to other developers, and they say that they down value every project just to be absolutely careful. And well, they want to make sure that they are de-risking their investment, as in the bank investment. So what you've got to do is you've got to find the extra money. And James, as you've said, is we've got to find that money. But challenging your mindset is like, okay, so perhaps maybe I just don't have to use none of my money, none of the bank's money. We can use other people's money. So okay,
Yes.
and yes, and James, there's many people out there who wants to, and actually, this is the best one. This is the mind blowing. I think my deal for 500,000 might not be big enough. Because
Yes.
who has 5 millions and more in their bank accounts, they got a true problem. Because if they, they usually think like, where do I put my money to work over the next 5 years? What do I have to, what do I have to do to make sure I get a steady return and I don't have to worry, over my money for the next couple of years, because they're just making money and not being, chewed away by the inflation. So, James, I'm actually challenging myself to find more, more of those amazing deals, and we do have a lot of properties. So, well, lovely listeners, if you're out there and you've got a couple of £1 million that you don't know where to put into good use, give us a thumbs up, and we're more than happy to have that conversation with you.
I think there's a couple of things there, Greg, that I just wanted to mention. I first thing I would do is definitely go back to the vendor and say, you would not believe what's happened. It's all going well, and then suddenly this has happened, and then leave a nice long gap. Perhaps there's something they can do to help you. Okay,
that's a good point.
So you're just letting them know what's going on. We love the property. I completely agree with the price. It's a bargain. It's a win-win for us both. But look what's happened since we last spoke. And then I've got a friend that only uses other people's money, Greg. He does not use any of his own and does not use bridging. So he's already put that stake in the ground to say, this is what I do. That's his mindset. So again, that's another thing we could do. We could say, right, we only ever do deals with other people's money. So therefore, that would make us network more. That would make us talk to people like, hey, I really respect you as a business owner. I really respect you as a family member. What do you think of this deal? Who do you think would like to get involved in that? We can do lots more of those third-party things. Someone said to me the other day that they're all in your phone.
Absolutely.
The people that can lend you the money are in your phone. And the other thing is, Greg, instead of looking for the 500,000 in one go, why don't we look for 3 or 4 people and split it up a little bit? So that it is really, you've really got to whiteboard it and really think you want 10 ideas of how you can get that property. That's what I would do.
Certainly.
And it might not take you 5 minutes to do. It might take you a week. Maybe you could speak to Ezekiel or some of the other guys that we know and say, look, I've got 8 ideas here of buying a property. Just, can you give me 2 more? And then if they heard all 8 and the deal, maybe they would lend you the money. I just think that the more you talk
James,
about it, the better.
You're absolutely right. So what we do is I'm gearing up towards those bigger deals already. So this week we had a meeting with 2 other great friends, and these are one of them is a contractor, and the other person is going to be our purchasing manager to make sure that we, every investment stacks up very, very well. And yeah, you've got to look at bigger deals than you think you can do. Not think you can do, bigger deals than you think you could afford. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Because we think small, but we should think big. And people in your network.
You're so right, Greg. The problems with small are the same as big.
Yeah.
And a really good friend of mine said to me, especially if you're doing HMOs, he bought a 50-bedroom HMO. And I was like you, what? How do you even begin with that? But it was actually a very, very clever thing to do because it was already cash flowing, Greg.
Yes.
So you had these 5 floors, 10 on each floor, student accommodation. I think it was in Bradford or somewhere down Sheffield, I think it was. So it needed refurbishing. He got it for just over £1 million, £1.5 million. And obviously he's got to refurb it. But you wouldn't turf all the students out. What he did is he systematically did each floor using the cash flow from the HMO to pay for it. So going big can have a lot of benefits that you don't get when you're doing small stuff.
True. Good point.
Just
James, we've got a few questions in the chat, and
okay.
Good morning to everyone. Clement, Renuka, Martha. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
Clement asked about the vendor finance. Yes, that's correct. We were mentioning a vendor finance earlier. So, James, let's just go over it again. Vendor finance is when the person who's selling the property is becoming one of your investors, and you can arrange with them however only it suits them and you. So in this particular occasion, uh, James suggested that I would go back to a person who's selling the property to me and ask them, hey, how about I will give you more money for your property, but we are actually going to delay the completion of that. And what that means is I'm going in, so we've exchanged the contract. So I can't back out from so she knows I've committed to buy this property. I'm going, doing everything I want to do. And when I refinance a now beautifully completed, redecorated, redeveloped property, I get more money and I just share that money with them. That's how simple it is. You just sharing your profits with the owner of your property, the vendor.
Yeah.
That's what it is, the vendor finance.
It is. And really, we should be doing this on every deal, by the way. Let me just give you a scenario. This is what I do at all my viewings. And it might take a couple to build rapport. So you go out, you look at the property, you build rapport, you get to know what they're, as much as you can. It's not that easy to really ask, what are you doing with the money sort of thing. But I have done it. I felt like I could at the time. I felt like I had the right energy and frequency to ask them directly, because it was an unencumbered property and it wasn't something they needed to sell to buy another. I'll always ask these 3 questions, okay? So actually, there's 4 things that I do. So the first thing I do is I have a good look around and say, look, this is a really, really nice property. My investors are looking for stuff like this. Look, can I ask you, if my investors were going to move with a cash offer, so speed and certainty, what is it you need? How much do you need from this and still be happy? And then my investors perhaps could look at that. So what we're saying there is that we get straight to what that vendor needs, so what they're happy to sell at, and we've got that cash offer. So we're looking at a below market value, probably, not always. Sometimes we give full value, but what we're saying is there's a cash offer on the table. What do you think? So that's number one. Secondly, what I like to do is have a conversation with the vendor and just see if you know that it's unencumbered, they don't need the money now. Why are they selling? Perhaps they're going on holiday, they're emigrating, or whatever it is they're doing. What you could say to them is, how about, because when you sell a property, you're crystallizing that. You literally are saying, right, it's sold, there's your money. How about some income from the property until you're in a position to buy it? So that you could rent the property until your finances are in order. You could pay down the debt from that rent. So they could get an income from the property for a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it takes. So they can still get money coming in from the property, and they're guaranteed to sell at the end, or pretty much guaranteed. Why wouldn't you do that deal at the end? So that's an option. You could enter that sort of agreement. So they get a rental income, and they get a sale. And the last one, I always say this. I say, look, this is a bit crazy. We generally do this on land. So we buy land, and then we do the work, and then we share the profits out at the end. So what I'm thinking is that, how about you lend me the money to buy your property, and I give you a great return on that money. So A, you get the right price for the property, and B, you get some return on that investment. That's what we call vendor finance. So those are the 3 things I do on every single viewing, Greg. The third party cash offer, what they're happy with, the rent to buy or an option.
Yep.
Long as possible, as long as possible, because you might get some capital growth, some appreciation. And thirdly, how about they become the bank? So I always do those 3 things, and I hope that everybody on this call is doing exactly that. And it doesn't matter if you get tongue-tied or you make a mess of it. Just get into the practice of it, get into the habit of doing it, and you'll soon get a feel for it, and you'll know when to say things. So yeah, it's comfort zone stuff again, isn't it, Greg? That's how we grow. That's how we learn.
Absolutely. And yeah, Clement, good luck on your viewing. Clemens is viewing 2 7-bedroom HMO today in Birmingham. That's in the comments on Facebook. Good luck, buddy. I really, hope that you're going to get something out of it, and hopefully you can share with us, if that was a good deal for you.
Well, that's even better, isn't it, Greg? Because you're going to speak to someone that's a business owner.
Yes.
So they've got a commercial way of thinking. Okay. So I mean, I would definitely be asking them why they're selling the HMO. Maybe they want to retire. Maybe they just want to get out of it. Maybe they're worried about, the changes in government that we perhaps might have, new licensing, whatever it is they're worried about. Find out what that is, Clement, and see if there's a way where they can still get some income. I don't know. You just try and think about the three things that I've just said, because they are a
Absolutely.
business owner.
But the firstly is this. If you, Clement, if that was too much and you forget, the one advice is always is establish a good report. That's number one. Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listen out to what the problem is. And if you forget everything, these two things, when you are just going to focus on that, because um, when you buy properties, you don't buy them that well. You can go and buy the shake hands, done and dusted. Usually, it is all in the follow up. Most of it, like please, keep this in your mind. You don't buy properties straight away. You buy them in a follow up for a great money,
Yeah.
because there is a problem. The vendor who's selling the property, they have a reason for selling, because why would they sell a property that is absolutely making a killing, good money, good return on the monthly basis? They wouldn't do that.
No.
There is a problem they've got, and you're going in to solve that problem, and you're finding the right win-win scenario for both of you, because what they're going to do is they just want out of this, this situation, and you want it. You want it in.
They need a lifeline, don't they? Greg, there's a question there for Renuka, and this is a very, very good question. I'm always finding below market value properties, but get stuck with investors. What is the best way to move forward? Okay, so there's a great saying in life where banks love to lend to people that don't need the money. Okay, so maybe a change of thought, maybe the way you present to investors, maybe it's a bit more third party, maybe a bit more, hey, I've got this fantastic deal. I could just grab your opinion on it. We've got all the money we need. You just pretending that we're sort of advanced on it. We've got the funding. This is the outcome. I don't suppose you know anybody that might want to get involved in the next one. We've got one coming through in a few days. It's just going to be absolutely the nuts. I wondered if you knew anybody that might be interested in that. So it's coming from a position of abundance, not lack. That might help you. Okay, so I hope that helps with that particular question. Greg, have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, if you're struggling, stuck with your investors, what's the best way to go? Is also an understanding what these investors want. Why are they in? Why are they in? In your investment, diary, or what they need out of the investment. Because maybe, and again, maybe the problem is that they're not interested with 200,000. They might not be interested with, you also need to find out and ask them, because maybe you're not challenged yourself enough. And maybe they actually have, a million pounds that they're actually thinking, oh, can Renuka actually, help me with all of my problem, to put a million or 2 million in for hard work, not only a couple of 100,000. So there might be that, because I speak to great people in my network, and I speak to this solicitor, and he's telling me, like, Greg, I've got clients who are not interested with a couple of £100,000. They're interested with millions, because that's the problem they have. And if you can demonstrate, you can put through your system, 5 to 10 millions, and have the team to support all of that investment, then I have clients for you. And that's exactly what we are now building. We're building, credibility, that we can look after a couple of £1 million and really crack on with deals. And perhaps this is what you need to get a clarity of, understanding what your investor is actually in for. Are they in for just holding them out, and again, that's very important. The money they have, are these money saving over the years from hard worked money for,
Yeah.
or are these money a business money because they've sold something, they've acquired business, or there is inheritance that they just received. So you just need to understand what money is, because people treating the money in a different way.
Yeah.
If someone just worked 20 years for that 700,000 pounds they've managed to put away on a savings account, they're gonna hold on to this money so careful because they just worked for it so many years. And emotional attachment with these money is huge for them. It's a life savings.
It's hard
But
to
if
let go. Yeah.
exactly. And imagine how difficult it will be to convince that investor to take an element of risk. They've just done it over the last 20 years.
Mm.
And if someone has money because they've sold the business, they've acquired inheritance, that money just, they come into possession of that money. And now, if they understand that the inflation is eating away, is the money is just being burned, disappearing year on year, and if they won't put this money into action working or invest them, they're just going to lose a chunk of it year on year.
Yeah.
And this is the people you want to work with.
Yeah. Can I just ask? We've got Martha on the call. I hope Martha's watching. I know Martha very well, and she has an amazing energy about her. I wonder what she would think about how we can get that shift in frequency mindset, this abundance feeling. I wonder if she could give us a comment on how she would go ahead, raising finance. Hopefully she can hear us. She's on the call. She did comment earlier that she was on. Martha, if you're there, what's your thoughts on how we can raise private finance, and what sort of frequency and sort of the way we think can influence that? That'd be great to know. But yeah, I mean, Renuka's come back with, she's got a lot of money from investors. So that's a tricky one. I just don't understand that, because if you've got, if you found the supply and the demand is there, then surely that should be enough. So maybe we
Yeah,
need to find some new investors.
James, you're right. There is something that's missing, because Renuka, if you've got amazing properties and and there is there's a pot of money to finance all of it, something is missing. And usually, in many cases, this is something super simple, but we just need to go in and find out. Usually, this is something super simple because they need to put money into work, and you are the one standing between the money working and money not working, and what it
Yeah.
is that is stopping all of it.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got Martha's come back. Thank you so much. Of course, is a first to work on the frequency. Absolutely right. So we've got to be aligned with our investors. It's got to be happy money. It's got to feel good. It's got to be an abundant feeling. So that's definitely the first thing. What else we got? Okay. So underlining fear. That's a great one. Maybe there's something that we're worried that we're going to let our investors down. Maybe there's some fear in there. Maybe there's and I'm being very generalized here. I'm just having a conversation. Maybe there's a sense of worthiness. Maybe we don't think we're worthy. Don't know. Fear, trepidation. Loving that. Absolutely. Greg, thoughts on that?
Well, actually, underlying fear, really, I'd like really that one, because we may, as I earlier said, we're not. I'm not challenging myself. I'm not challenged myself, past tense, big enough to think about bigger deals, and because that was due to a fear. Because am I good enough? But actually, in my network, I've got such an amazing people that I'm just not utilizing those relationships to the full potential, and that's what it is. I've understood that I'm not, and I now do, and that fear isn't there, because I'm not afraid what we can all achieve, and that's challenging your own mindset is where you have to come in and overcome that fear, that limiting belief.
Maybe also, Greg, a really good thing that I would do is why don't we sometimes transfer, if we go forward in time, let's go 5 years ahead, where we're finding great deals, you've got great investors. What advice would that future self, looking back now, what advice would they give us? Maybe there's some connection there. I mean, I do like to go into the future. I like to go through to where I'm visualizing my future. and I see everything that I need and want, not need, want. So my goals, the kind of lifestyle I've got, and the kind of person I am. Looking back at now, sometimes we can get some messages that can be very, very advantageous to do. Have you done anything like that, Greg? Have you done any
It's
future
brilliant.
self now?
Yes, there's this book by 10x, Gap and Again, and Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, and they talk in their book about what would future self, would tell you, and just an exercise alone of that. So where are you now today? And so actually, let's do this exercise all together. So listeners, just entertain us for for the next 2 minutes. You are today where you were. Think about where you've been, year ago, as simply as a year ago, or think about where you've been 5 years ago. And would you think 5 years ago that you're going to be exactly where you are today? And if your answer is simply no way, then what would you today tell tell yourself 5 years ago? What would that be? And if you have that approach, and now thinking of where you are now, those 5 years on, where you think you're going to be in the next 5 years, and what that future self comes and tell you to do, to challenge, to overcome whatever it is that you know yourself, and pretty much we know what problems and challenges we're facing on a daily basis, or non-daily basis,
Yeah.
and what that thing is. And give yourself, just give yourself a credit for thinking about that. Give yourself credit for even trying to think what your future self would tell you. Because my future self would tell me, go for it. Go for it, and don't think twice. Go for it. Because my engineering background wants to have everything in order. And I'm not going for it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for it. So if this is you, go for it. Absolutely.
And what about if you go forward to your future self? Let's say you were doing something that you're really passionate about. So you're no longer deal sourcing. You're actually doing the strategy and property that you really passionate about. Could be social housing, could be service accommodation, whatever. But there's true passion in what you're doing. Then when you go to investors to borrow money, because you've got passion and involvement, that happiness, that abundance, that frequency may attract investors as well. So maybe a bit more passion in what you're doing. Maybe it's more, rather than just finding property because it's a good deal and that would be the outcome of it. Maybe something that you're passionate about that's a great deal would attract that kind of happy money. That would be interesting. So thank you, Martha, by the way, for all of that. Awesome comments.
Everyone, thank you so much for the comments. But this is brilliant. And James, in my experience, it is exactly only that. Is you, your passion, your energy, and your uniqueness, because we all are unique. And your energy comes through you, your excitement, all of that. And people who are out there watching, following, and closely, follow what you do on your social media, or know you from your local, networking events. They watch what you do, and they will come and approach you. And that's exactly what will happen. You just have to stay consistent in what you do, and don't give up if you do not see an immediate return on your actions.
There's definitely a block there, though. Absolutely a block, because that makes
Oh
no
man,
sense. A great deal should attract investors. So maybe there's a little block there. Maybe new investors, literally go networking with that new frequency, go and find new people, new conversations. Maybe it's not the right time for those investors to come into your life.
Potentially.
Lots and lots of, but it's definitely not you or the deals. It must be something to do with the frequency and the alignment. That's all I can think.
James, is also all about the enjoying the journey. Don't this is what we have to understand. And there's a lots of studies, lots of books about this. There's we must be the the millionth person who mentioned this. Is about the journey, the dopamine. what I've learned over the last, what I relearn over the last week about the, dopamine, about the journey, about the immediate results is I will, a lot of people come with this statement: I will be happy when, whatever that
Mm.
is, when I get there, when I get that money, when I get that promotion, when I get this, when.
Sounds
So
like ego to me.
yeah, that means that you're never happy now, that you're unhappy. And when you ask that question, anyone, they're like, oh, no, no, no. But actually, that's exactly what you just said.
Mm.
I will be happy when. And, we need to be, It is so much easier when you're just enjoying the process of getting to what you want to get and where you're challenging yourself to get. But
Yeah.
actually, this is it. It's a process, and enjoy the
Yeah.
process. So much easier.
And I think that can be where fear lives in the future. Fear can live in the future.
Yeah.
Sadness can live in the past. But in the moment, the appreciation, the gratitude to be alive. I mean, when I wake up in the mornings, the first thing I hear is the birds singing. How happy they are to have another day. They don't think about where they're going to get their next meal from and where they live. They just happen to be happy to be alive. So maybe that is a really, really good indication of how we should be: happy to be alive, happy to have the day, happy to be loved. Yeah, rather than, oh, if I had that, I'd be happy. If I had that, I'd be happy. Yes, of course, that's great. It's nothing wrong with wanting things, but it's the need that's the issue. Because need means you lack, and that means it's got to come from somebody else. So I want that because I want it is fine, but being happy in the moment, absolutely, Greg, you hit the nail on the head. That is nirvana.
It is. It is. James, it is nearly 10 o'clock, and I can
And
see that
I'm
you're
supposed to be
not
in my
in your
meeting at 9.
usual. I know you're not in your usual office. So could you just give us a hint of where you are today and what you're doing?
Right. Well, I'm supposed to be in. It's a graduate day for the Property Investors Network. I'm a pin host. I host the Great North Pin in Washington, and today we've got some training, and it started at 9 o'clock. I could hear them all outside. They're in. The conference has started, so I'll be that embarrassing guy at the back that trips over a few chairs and stuff. So, but hey, the show must go on. This comes first.
Please,
They'll just have to wait for me.
and just I want to add to it because I know James. James loves to be that person who goes into a room full of people, trips over those chairs, and everyone turns around and give you that look, and all he's gonna do is hi.
No, I'm not quite sure about that, but there you go.
James, that's you, my man. That's you, my friend.
But yeah,
If
so
you know
Simon,
James as well as
Simon's
I
in
do,
there.
he is never embarrassed, and he can turn any embarrassed moment into an absolutely great, experience. So, James, you are that person, man. I'm so glad that you're in my life, man. I love you.
And you, brother, and you.
Uh, Guys, and James, audience, we'd like to. We're coming now to the end of this show, and as much as we'd love for Wojtek to be with us today, once again, Wojtek is looking after himself today. He had a light accident. I hope it's light, but he said he's been looked after in hospital. Wojciech, our hearts go to you, my man. You're, really looking forward to do this episode with you because I know the journey you've gone through. It will be inspiring for a lot of our audience and watchers. So, James, once again, thank you so much. Today we've gone through more of a finance challenges, mindsets, where we are, what are the challenges that you're faced as an investor, as a property developer in the current market, and what's happening. If you want more of it, give us a comment, send us some messages so we can just plan a content accordingly to what you would like. And this participation today, it was absolutely amazing. So thank you
Yeah,
for all of your likes, all of your comments. We love you guys, and we can't wait to see you again on the next episode on Sunday.
yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks for all the comments and the questions. It really does make a difference. We love to see that we're making everybody feel good and giving people good advice. So have a great day, and we'll see you next Sunday.
See you next Sunday, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.